Hello everybody. Welcome back to the desk. I am the official carnation of Mars Swan. Alex, otherwise known as by Mars Swan. No? Alright, fine. I'm here with Initialized. You know him. He initialized, but with a 1. Sam Hapgood. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Hey, buddy. How's the mask life treating you?
That's alright. It's kind of my thing. It's my spiel. Okay, I can't keep doing this skit anymore. We've got maybe the biggest game of the LJL with how everything's gone. This might be the biggest game of Super Week. I want you to explain why DFM, after this break, after everything we've seen, why we believe this could be a huge moment for DFM and potentially even for V3.
This is the 7-time champions of the LJL, the spring split champions of the LJL, on their worst split ever, period. They have lost more games in this split than they just have ever in the LJL right now. Hell, they had their first 0-2 domestic weekend in the regular split ever before the break. They have looked sorts, and yet we still have hope. This is a team with the kind of pedigree that G2 can hold on to, Fnatic can hold on to, T1 can hold on to. They have been that good for that damn long. On the other side of the rift, though, it is V3 Esports who have been tearing the LJL apart with a very different style than the LJL has been used to. Gone are the slow, calculated plays of yesteryear. Here we have a team that presses early, uses the aggressive prowess of their jungler Boogie and the sheer laning might of particularly their bot lane to run over games. And hell, if that doesn't work out, then they've got some team fight magic to pull out. Hell, the reason we're partly excited about this magic is it was the team fight magic that brought them back from a 7,000 gold deficit at 15 minutes in the last game that DFM and V3 showed up. We're hoping that DFM, with their ridiculously amazing coaching staff, On Air is their coach, remember, guys, who was from Azubu Frost, from HLE, Rocks Tigers. This guy has won a lot of League of Legends. This is the time off to respec, re-synergize, come back in fresh on a patch change, and look to reassert yourself at the top of the table with the talent we know that roster has. That is the kind of setup we have coming, and we've got a DFM we're expecting to come back in better prep than they were in the first round robin. We have got a V3 we are expecting to still be dominant in the LJL, and I have no bloody idea how it's going to go. Stats say V3, and my heart is saying otherwise.
It's important to think the streak can be broken by DFM. They had a streak of 9-0, which was ended by Sengoku in our spring split. Now, V3 have run the gauntlet once. They went undefeated. They've even done one extra. They made sure it's all taken care of. Coming into this break, though, we've seen what a break does to DFM, especially against V3. We saw that in playoffs.
We did.
After just under a 1-month break, DFM were able to lose to Sengoku in the upper bracket in the gauntlet match. 3.5 weeks pass. V3 are given DFM, and this wasn't the same DFM. This was a DFM that were angry, that were hungry. They wanted to go to MSI. They wanted their crown back. They didn't like going down to the lower bracket. This isn't for us. And part of why Initialize's heart is there, and why, if you check out our podcast, giving it a quick little plug here, why we all, even in there, were like, well, we have to give it to V3, but if DFM find a way, well, they're the team that will find a way. We need to see what this break has meant for DFM, as it's truly something that can't be understated, how big that break meant in spring between that playoff period Initialize. It can't be understated what that could mean for now.
It really can't. And for DFM as well, this is a bit of a make or break weekend in general. They're 4-4 right now. They have beaten all the teams below them. They have lost all the above them. That is untenable if you want to prove yourselves come playoffs. And the way to do that is start off damn strong and crush V3 on your way up. Sengoku already dropped a game. They've already lost the head-to-head where DFM to Sengoku. They are 0-2 versus squad. If, with that, the fact that Sengoku dropped a game, maybe if you can start taking some of these other wins, you can look to push for top 2 maybe still. It's not completely out of reach, but you need to start here, and you need to prove to us that you have fixed up some of the issues that we have been kind of harping on about with DFM for a number of weeks. Namely, their Herald fights have been atrocious.
Yeah.
Really poor.
Yeah, and commonly around that first Herald or second Herald is where DFM end up losing a lot of their advantages. However, it's worth making that note. Against V3 in their first round robin, they didn't have that problem. They solved that. They didn't have a problem around Dragon. They had the early game against V3 solved in a nice little basket, given to them, 7k gold lead, go on, you can do... Oh, but Boogie had other ideas. As did Paz. Paz had other ideas, and as did Rainer, and the rest of the team came along for the ride, and... well, the best comeback that we've actually seen came from V3 against DFM, and it was a lead that we thought couldn't be thrown at the time.
And it was one part magic from V3, one part arrogance from DFM. They took a number of fights with a team comp that they really shouldn't have been looking for fights with at that point. And it was also the likes of Rainer Flash hooking to stop Utapon, the chains from Aces LeBlanc stopping the flank from, I believe it was the Wukong at some point as well, or burning the flash from the Wukong earlier. The list just kind of went on and on and on. I think at some point, myself and Imeramas one are thinking of setting down and just going through that VOD and really indexing into a really deep dive on some of the team fights that happened in that one, because there was some beautiful magic that was occurring for V3 within it.
Yes.
That said, probably worth talking a little bit more about what we think is going to happen in this matchup this time around, rather than dwelling too much on the previous one.
Well, one thing I don't think we're going to be seeing is Ebby on that Wukong. We haven't seen Ebby perform well on that Wukong. I think he's going to probably more hone in on his more traditional top laners. I'm specifically thinking
be a bad option.
That Volibear, as well as the set. As he makes set look so good.
He really, really, really does. He was by far the best set in the league in spring. Hell, I would put him up there as a world-class set player in general. He was doing unspeakable things on that champion and is still doing it in its relatively nerfed state in the top lane. That said, it's kind of worth pointing out that I'm unsure about whether top lane ought to be the priority in this match for Ebby, because I think the bot lane for both V3 and DFM kind of been a little bit of a bright spark, particularly the AD.
Yeah, I mean, Archer and Rainer, that bot lane duo for V3 are so good. I mean, let's just kind of reset a little bit, because I want to just hammer on a point that we overlooked. Boogie has the best KDA out of any jungler in professional play.
Has he got the highest KDA of a pro player at the minute in professional play?
I don't quite know that stat off the top of my head. I know
some of the because I know some people dropped out because Vulcan dropped it after the couple losses C9 took.
I think if you look at above like 8 games, so they've played the same amount of games as Boogie. Right. I believe he actually has the highest KDA. But Rainer, the support player for V3, isn't very far behind on 14. No. Like
absurd.
Boogie has something like a 23 KDA.
I think it's like 17.7. I think is what it, from what I recall briefly. He had that weekend before the break as well. We went he had a 40.0 KDA as well.
Yeah,
which,
before the break.
What?
Yeah,
just before the break, which is like that one weekend alone sort of pumped his stats pretty damn high.
Yeah, it's 17.4, exactly, just as you remembered it. Oh, perfect. Yeah, and he has the highest KDA of any player that has more than 8 games. Everybody else has only played 1 or 2 games. The next person that's nearest to him is a certain mid laner that if you watch League of Legends at all, you'll know the name of Showmaker. Maybe? Might know Showmaker. He's got a 14. He's got a 14.9 KDA. I mean, Reiner is right next to him.
Couple off the big time.
Reiner's right next to him at 14.4. Like, this is how good these players are on V3, and they're going against the all-time best team, and arguably maybe best players of all time in the LJL in DFM.
Certainly up there. I mean, historically, right, DFM have pretty much won all the best sort of like the player of the split awards, like across the world. They have like a first team kind of LCS kind of thing that the official stream does. It's done for years. And generally speaking, it's been like 4 DFM members, 5 DFM members pretty much every damn year. This time around, begin to wonder whether that might not be so true anymore.
But sir, we're into pick and ban phase. Let's transition over and I'll let you take the lead.
Thank you very much, sir. It is a massively hype matchup. I hope we gave that some credit and some context. V3 Esports and DFM will be taking to the Rift for the first time this week. V3 are on the blue side, and that means it will be Paz, Boogie, Ace, Archer, and Reiner rounding out their roster.
Yeah, for DFM, it's going to be Eddie in the top lane, Steel in the jungle, Cyros in that mid lane, the Emperor himself, as well as Utapon and Gang in that bot lane.
Oh, yes, it is, and we've already seen a few bans coming through, namely Volibear away from DFM, just really strong generally at the minute, as well as the Karma, which DFM flex so damn well, and also abused bot lane with really heavily. Other side, though, it's the Set and the Twisted Fate that have been taken off the board. Interestingly, I know Nymera, our other regular analyst, was a little bit wary or leery of Ace's ability to play the Twisted Fate. DFM clearly seem to be mildly afraid of.
Yeah, and then potentially that's also hinting at what we've seen in scrims as well from them. Also banning that the Aphelios, totally viable against Utapon. Don't want to give him top tier carries. The Set first ban, though, that's not a targeted ban at Paz, nor is it really a ban at Boogie. It's a ban on Reiner. He has made this set look so disgustingly good as a support that he should actually be just a support champion.
Yeah, that does, however, leave the other super priority carry up, and that will be the Ashe that is locked in pretty damn swiftly for Archer. DFM now have a chance to respond, and maybe something like an Ezreal Bard is always a possibility, but I'll be interested to see what they actually decide to go towards. Pon's Ezreal, in my mind, was always pretty damn good, and Gang has played a mean Bard this split, being hovered right now for DFM.
I mean, you don't really want to give Bard over to the Ashe Bard lane. You kind of have to pick it on the first cycle round. It's just, what do you want to pair it with? Jungle is a fine option to pair it with. Or the AD carriers, you already know what you're up against, so you should be pretty open to giving this information over to V3. You're not really hiding too much, and it looks like that Ezreal that is being hovered is the option here. I can't really see much else you would want to pick into it, and you can't give the Bard over as you've already picked it, so it does make the most amount of sense. It does give a lot of priority now over to V3. They can pick up that Thresh. We know Reiner's great at Thresh. They can also, and great at picking up Bards and Ezreals on that Thresh. He can also pick up a Leona if he wants to have a more harder engage. It gives a lot of options over to V3 and Reiner, and is Boogie...
So, Boogie is a big-time solo queue Evelyn player. One of these days he'll pick it, and I will be the happiest man alive. But until such a time as that, it will instead be Ace's very strong Galio locked in. There's a number of the champions we've kind of had some questions about his mechanics on. Hasn't really been the case with the Galio, where he has got a pretty stellar stat sheet to go with his pretty stellar win record. See what the other pick here is. Of course, Galio, I suppose, could be flexed down to support. It wouldn't be unheard of, but I doubt it wouldn't offer that much pressure. Instead, the hardest engage you could possibly find, a Nautilus to pair up with the Enchanted Crystalline Arrow. Sounds pretty good to me.
Interesting that they're deciding to go in this direction. It does make sense. They have to pick a support at some point between these two picks. Interesting they decided to go for the Galio. I don't hate it though, because in all seriousness, it's a champion we've highlighted on our podcast. We've talked about countless times. It's a slight crutch champion for Ace at the moment. It's his best performing champion. DFM didn't ban it in the first round, so V3 should probably reward themselves and go, well, they banned the TF, they banned the Callista, they banned the set. Let's take the free Galio because we get 100% win rate when we pick it. And let's figure out from there. Important bans now coming out. Kha'Zix is a big one expected out from DFM. They can't give that to Boogie, really.
Yeah, also just deals really well into Trundle, which has just been locked in for steal. Trundle also still super high priority as a jungler. Really, really strong. It's a tanky frontline, can steal away stats from the likes of the Galio and the Nautilus, which is nice. And, you know, even with some of the nerfs that have been coming through towards Trundle, strong. So I kind of appreciate that lock-in. I think it's a good one, and steal is historically brilliant. Trundle had some good games in this one. One that comes to mind is the last game DFM had versus the Hawks, where Trundle and actually would have been the Hawks. I'm thinking more against Burning Core. Actually, is the one I'm thinking of, where once and Steel were going back and forth for Echo versus Trundle, and it was a really, really good early game from Steel in particular. Bans coming through though. It's the Lee Sin that was taken away from Boogie first off by DFM. Got to remember that Boogie's Lee Sin is pretty darn nuts. Managed to get a 3 versus 5 quadra kill on it not so long ago. Camille taken away from Paz. Other side though, it's the Lulu ban. Kind of curious what this last ban will hear. Kind of also worth pointing out, anybody who's been stalking Ebby solo queue will know that Ebby's been playing a lot of top lane Lulu. So they just don't want to give that away.
Yeah, it also might just be a flex pick that Syros can also play in the mid lane. So you just look at it
jungle,
and go,
what's happening?
Well, most likely, it's probably mid-jungle support, mid-top support. You made me say jungle. No. Heimerdinger
Spirit used to play Lulu jungle. I'll put that right out there. There was a point where Spirit used to play a lot of Lulu jungle. So it's
let's
not
talk
that
about
unheard of.
Heimerdinger and how that's a legitimate ban versus Syros, especially for a Galio.
Yes, it is. It's just taken off the board. Saros just plays a really good Heimerdinger. Does leave up the other Yordle that Saros loves to use, and that will be the Ziggs. It's immediately locked in. A lot of team fight damage between an Ezreal and a Ziggs right now. A lot of long range to do it with the Bard, as well as kind of additional pseudo poke. V3 now with their last 2 picks. They have a top laner and a jungler to pick. Paz thinking about going towards the Ornn. Has been a pretty good Ornn this split as well. It is locked in. That's another bit of hard engage. And
so what front line.
Kind of, what are you thinking of the jungle?
Well, it's either
Nidalee?
Kindred, Nidalee, Kha'Zix.
There's a lot of setup.
There's so many champions here that are, to be honest, DFM aren't really well positioned against. They haven't got a lot of anti-CC outside of Ziggs basically throwing the bomb down and saying, go away, the other way. There we go.
There it is.
There's the
Kha'Zix plays super well into Trundle. Like, you're going to steal the attack speed, but it doesn't matter if you auto for just most of Trundle's health bar. That said, you're not necessarily going to get the kill early on, but you just get better trades.
Oh.
Ebby thinking about going towards his oh-so-famous Nah. This would be an interesting pick.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. Yeah, this one makes more sense.
There's your team fight. DFM have the mother of all mid-game team fights right now with a Vladimir, Ziggs, and an Ezreal all there to hit with the right item spikes. On the side though, V3 aren't a slouch in team fights either. Kha'Zix jumps in, Galio jumps on top of it, Ashe in the backline. I suppose the one scruple there in my eyes for V3 is that Kha'Zix. What are you reckoning, Maswam?
I honestly, I actually think I hate the Ornn out of everything. I think I hate Paz's champion the most. And the reason is, so, they've got a lot of engage, right? It's good.
I see it.
The problem is, all their damage is basically on Boogie and Archer, right? Paz is not expected to deal a lot of damage. Ace is not expected to deal a lot of damage. They're more frontliney, take control of the situation.
Like, Ace will contribute, but he's not a main carry, I grant you.
Exactly. And my concern is I feel like that's what V3 needed in that top lane as well. Another champion that can offer a lot. And yes, okay, ornament items, yes, you get gold through that and it gives you more damage. Sure. Kha'Zix doesn't build a lot of ornament items by default, so you'd have to default...
Ghost Blade, I guess. You get the Wraith Blade from it, would be my guess.
And that's it, right? It's not enough for me to be like, oh yeah, that really makes sense across all of your picks here. I
suppose it is another strong engage, and it's a way of potentially punishing the Ziggs and the who want to stick away.
With the Ashe ultimate, with the Nautilus, with the Galio, with the Kha'Zix on top of the Nautilus, or on top of the Calio. I think they already had the engage. I think they just wanted more follow-up.
I see your thinking, and I kind of agree with it. I understand what V3 are thinking, but it's a risk, right, isn't it? Archer dies, their damage profile drops really heavily. If Boogie can't find his way into the... Then, Boogie's got a few juicy targets with which he can do a lot of damage if he can find anybody isolated. Trundle's kind of tanky, Vladimir can pull and heal things back. That's kind of it as far as straight
You know what I would have liked? I would have liked the Wukong.
Yeah, I actually really agree there. Wukong would have been wonderful, wouldn't it?
I'm not crazy. It wasn't banned, right? I don't think it was. It was the set that was banned. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Wukong wasn't banned.
Yeah, and you can...
And Paz is a great Wukong.
Yeah, I think Wukong would have been perfect for them because it's follow-up. It's teamfight engage. It gets into the middle of stuff. It means Boogie might not be the center of focus as well as Archer. Okay, that's the only thing I'm going to pick apart. Because let's be real, look at these stats that are currently on screen.
Whew, baby.
It's the first place team that are only second in a few things because one team wants to spike one thing and then they don't win anything else.
I can guarantee that's CGA who just played balls to the wall in the mid game.
Well, we saw Axis also. Was it Axis or...
Possibly Burning Core.
Burning Core, I think, were number one in, like, Rift Herald or something weird like that. And it's like...
I think they had the same score, actually, from what I remember. I think they might be joint second.
Oh, well, that would explain it. It's like random things where it's like, V3 are tied with people, or they're just slightly below, but their converted KDA is 30%. What?
But that's massive in terms of when you are setting up for ganks in pro play or plays in pro play, there are a lot of times where they just kind of get red and stall out. V3 find more kind of actual plays that work out than any other team. You can see it right down at the bottom. Hell, they're second in XP difference at 15. They're second in goal difference at 15. And they're both pretty stellar stats. Hell, look particularly the XP differential between second and fourth. Hell, look at the converted kill and assist differential. That's first through seventh. DFM aren't finding the same converted kills and assists, whereas V3 are. They got 20% Mass Swan on DFM there. They've got over 1,000 XP difference at 15 as well, and that's not even that big a discrepancy, right, between rankings. Second and fourth doesn't feel like it should be that much of a gap.
No, but that just shows the level of play that V3 have kept up throughout all of this split. They are undefeated. They're 8-0. They ran the gauntlet and said to everybody, what's next? Who's next? We're hungry for the next one. The reason I'm nitpicking V3's draft to this extent is because this is the level that we have to get to currently nitpick V3 because they're so good at everything. Okay, yeah, sure, they're not in first place in everything, but most teams rarely are when they're at the very, very, very top. Normally one team will nip them by one stat, but then they'll just destroy them on the Rift. And guess what, Initialize? That's where it counts.
That's where it counts the most, and it's going to have to count big time here as a reminder of the stakes. V3 do this, or win this match, and they will equal DFM's undefeated streak from spring. Should be pretty galling from DFM as well. If DFM win this, they get to break it, hold on to their record from spring, and also prove that they are back and able to compete with the top of the table. It has been an odd time in the LJL of late with the fact that DFM aren't our perennial favourites in this split, and that V3 have come in and have basically said, move older, old man, it's my time to shine, and V3 have been absolutely amazing, particularly in the early minutes. If Boogie can get the correct plays early on, be curious to see whether we get any level 1 shenanigans. Thus far, just the bush camp for V3 as Paz and Ebby find each other in a river bush. Be about all for now, and just straight to lane. It'll be a solo red buff start for Trundle, A leashed red buff start for Boogie on the bot side of the map, and the Twitter vote still just about in favor of DFM. That's the power of fandom for you.
Well, it's also the power of a break. I think if we had
Yes,
done
people
this
trust.
break,
Yes.
but I think if we had done this same patch as everything, that is worth noting. We are playing on patch 10.14. Previously, when all these teams had faced off, we were on patch 10.12. Though the AI bot favors V3 because it knows.
Just about.
It knows.
It knows.
It's got to favor one of them also, but it knows.
Ornn, Ashe, Nautilus, Galio, all great in the LJL, frankly. The other side, though, it's some slightly more esoteric picks, the likes the Ziggs and the Vladimir have been less common over here. Ziggs, in particular, is basically the Seros special. And we don't have Ninja here to compete with him for it.
Yeah, that's true. We're still missing some of our typical players that are on the Rift that represent. Sadly, they're not around at the moment due to visa reasons, but thankfully, both these teams came out unscathed with any visa problems and have their full rosters, so we're going to get the best match. Oh, Reiner already.
Ryan finds a hook, but doesn't find too much more. Utapon trading back with Gang, and bit of a health bar trade, but there are biscuits and pots in inventory, so looked pretty. Not much to be found as yet. Ooh. Steel, kind of looking for a wraparound, trying to spot out this Kha'Zix early, coming in behind this Galio now. Remember, you can pillar and prevent a lot of what Galio wants to do. Here we go, Kha'Zix coming in as well, trying to turn the front. Ace very, very low. Flash out goes Steel. Boogie trying to fuck forward, get the first blood. They're in the wave, he will get it. But now, in the minion wave is Boogie, trying to trade this around, has got the red buff on, and Seros has not got enough mana, has not got the cooldowns, and the counter gank pays off.
You could see that Ace was fully committed to the call. You could tell that either Ace himself or Boogie was making that call. They aggressively went for it. Ace went so low, but committed, believed that his jungler was going to get it. And this is why we had poised him as the best jungler in the LJL. Look at this. Boogie almost immediately is like, come to me, come to me, come to me, come to me. Aggressively jumps on it, immediately taunts. Boogie comes in and is like, nah, I've got this, mate, don't worry. He already reads that Seros has no mana. He doesn't have to worry. He thinks, maybe I can fight this. Maybe it's not a good idea. I don't want to take the aggro from the creeps. Probably would die as the wave was pushing into Ace's favor, into the blue side of V3. And they just reset and favor V3. First blood onto Boogie, and that's the man you definitely didn't want to give if you had to pick any player on V3 to give it to.
Yeah, if there's another jungler in the league that you trust with Kha'Zix outsider once, it would be Boogie. He's got it. He's got first blood. It was a great counter gank. It seemed like a great setup for Steel. Ace shoved up, had just had a load of his health bar change. That's a great stun onto Reiner in the bot side, but traded well back by Archer. But remember, there are those healing shrines there, which give Utapon all the health back in the world. And the shove will continue, but little more to be found. Yeah, kind of bringing it back round to that gank. Trundle seemed like he had a great wraparound. Thought he had the way in, but Boogie found his way into the jungle there off vision. Observers throwing that vision toggle around. It means that Ebby is now getting flanked and needs to be very, very afraid. Paz does have no mana. But Ebby needs to be very careful about how he uses his Sanguine Pool here if he wants to try and escape from this. There we go. It's gone down. Boogie still has the leap. It's going to go straight forward, trying to get the kill on the blow. Oh, man alive. I was going to say a little bit more. Flash from Paz gets that last pillar proc, and it will be a second kill onto Boogie, who skirted that vision in River so well.
And he did show himself on the map, so Steel is now feeling like they need to try and get something for this. They lost Ebby in that top lane. Ebby is the man who always knows what's going on, and they're going to contest for this. Paz is TPing in.
They don't have Call of the Forge God. It won't be Ace coming down. There's Paz coming down. Can Steel secure? He's going to try and get it. There we go. It comes down. That's them, but Steel will pay for it with his life. Dragon for one trade, and it is over 1,000 gold lead. Hell, we're nearly at 2,000 gold lead. It's not even 7 minutes into the bloody game, Lexi.
No, and this is also a kill went over to Archer. They are prioritizing their carries. This was something I highlighted where I was like, well, if they don't get any kills, if it goes a bit hoo-ha, it might be a very difficult game for V3. Oh, no, why did I ever doubt them? 2k gold lead for V3. At 6 minute 30, and Boogie's looking for more.
Yeah, the ward in that bush below blue buff will prevent him coming in too aggressively and trundles around as well, but probably a little ill-advised going for that dive. 3 kills to none is currently the score for V3. They're pushed in for a first plate down in this bot side as well. The range of Ashe so obnoxious early on in this lane, very lane dominant right now, I think it's fair to say. Not many other people punishing Ashe for AD carry wise in meta. Maybe why we're seeing a little bit of Jhin coming back was always that old school counter to Ashe. But 2-0 is the Kha'Zix, 1-0 is Archer. Your 2 primary carries of V3 are well and truly set up in this early game.
Yeah, and really important to also mention is Steel is super underleveled in experience in relation to where Boogie is.
Steel, 2 kills doing it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Steel ticked over to 5 not long after that dragon had perished, meaning that dragon didn't even give him 5. At that point, Boogie was already 6. Now that Steel has ticked over, Boogie still has the advantage in the jungle. He has the advantage in level. He'll have the advantage in smite. He's got the advantage in kills and gold. He's just completed his jungle item with that warrior enchantment.
Big deal.
It's going to be scary, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see like a full lethality Boogie coming out, just planning to kill and eliminate everybody as he has evolved into the ultimate predator in the jungle.
He is now level 6, has evolved that Q. Steel is around, but I think it would be a mistake if DFM went to contest this because they are in a bit of an item deficit right now. It's tier on Ezreal, it's just a Fiendish Codex on the Vladimir. There isn't a lot of stats for battle to be found, so instead DFM will shove in this bot side. Bit of reprieve down there, and look up for a plate down here, but that's about all they can find in hell with only half a minion wave. I'm not sure if they'll even find.
Yeah, they didn't really rotate around. They got that Herald for Boogie, and that's just going to be more gold funneled onto the Kha'Zix himself, who has about an 800 gold lead over Steel at this point. It's part of that 2k gold lead that they've been teetering so close to for so long of this game, and, well, Boogie's hunting.
Gonna try and find this Vladimir who's being a little aware. It's like, yeah, they're gonna be looking to dive me. He knows what's going on. Boogie coming around. That's a step forward for the blood damage coming out, but now Evie needs to be very, very careful. Tides of Blood, that's the ability name. I can remember it now. Had a moment there, I was like, I think it's that one. I'll double check in a second, but either way, we've got a potential dive coming out. Ebby now taken very low. Gets the transfusion though, and that's pretty big, but the knock-up now is dangerous. Call of the Forge God coming out. Sanguine Pool now burned. Does avoid the knock-up, but caught under tower without flash. Without that pool could be death knell for this Vladimir. Boogie has got flashes, looking for the kill, looking to get something. That's the Hema Plague down. Not gonna have any chance. The heal's pretty good. That will be the Mega Inferno Bomb to come. The Ashe Arrow coming through as well. And just another death for the Vladimir. Gets dived early on, and with the health bar low and no pool available, not much to be found but death for the Vladimir.
That's a huge amount of respect, and because they also get that turret play over, and all the gold goes over to Paz. If you remember closely, Boogie was trying to stay away to at least give Paz and keep him in an advantage spot in that lane. Because he gave him the turret play over, it meant that Paz had advantage and had more gold in his lane, which we just see a gold per player coming up. Boogie is so much further ahead than Steel. 1k advantage now on this Kha'Zix. Mid lane is going well for Ace, and you can say he's at parity. He's up in CS versus Syros. This is exactly where he wants to be. Archer's got that small lead going on, and I mean, Gang and Reina rather, are kind of doing the same thing. Only difference is Reina is finding his way around this map, and he will find it as this Infernal Drake is up in mere moments. Initialize.
It is, but as now Ace in a bit of trouble, has got the flash, may need to burn it, but taken very, very low. Proto Building trying to find his way, but that's knocked back! So well played by Seros with the satchel charge, and that's before the dragon was about to come up, and DFM will have the advantage. That's a tempered fate onto Archer. They're looking to go forward to find more. The Cosmic Binding lands as well. Archer now trying to kite away. Reiner as well, desperate to escape. Utapon stepping forward, has the Mana Mune complete. That's the true shot barrage, chunking Reiner to deathly low HP, and with the minefield in place chunking Boogie out, DFM will rotate over to this dragon, but the Rift Herald instead will be summoned in mid lane, trying to trade back our V3 in this mid lane. Seros, you sure you want to be moving forward? Has got flash, has got the satchel charge to get himself way under turret, and that will earn time around here. That's the arrow coming out, the teleport coming back through. Ace has respawned. Steel will secure the dragon, and Ace will not get onto Utapon. Steel will likely trade his life, but that's second Drake and a 1-for-1 overall.
1-for-1. Not a terrible spot to be in. They did also get a lot of turret. They got 3 turret plates in that mid lane. Worth noting as well. That's a lot of gold over. It is now a serious amount of Drakes over on the side of DFM. They did happen to pick up these first 2 Drakes. We will be on another Earth Rift, meaning that obviously if they can stack them, this is going to neuter a lot of the early damage that Boogie is going to have on this Kha'Zix. He is 4-0-0, has almost, well, he has about, well, math is hard sometimes, about 78, almost, he has 80% of the kill participation on the side of V3. He's setting up a lot of spots. He's done a bunch in top lane and rotated around the map. Archer's got a lot of gold. They just need to make sure they don't keep losing dragons, or it could definitely fall more into DFM's favoured spot in this game.
Yeah, and with, the Mountain Drake coming out as well, we're going to feel like it's the 21st day of September. Earth, Wind, and Fire are the options, as you were saying. And you're absolutely right to call out how well Boogie's been playing this game. The fact that he has got 4 of those 5 kills is pretty absurd. Is ready and willing to blow up a lot of the very squishy members of DFM, but at least DFM now starting to find ways to fight back. Those first item completions for them mean that they are now at a point where they can start fighting. And you saw they did contest around that dragon, got the kill, burned a lot of summoners out of V3, even if they did in the end trade 1-for-1 because of a very aggressive teleport back in from Ace to get onto Steel.
Yep, we see 2 of these really important items also coming through. The Proto Belt for Ace, whereas the GLP over for Seros. Still both Hexatech Ooh, that's...
Oh, Tempered Fate comes through, and that stops the Dredge line, but wait, it pulls him through it, and he manages to get his way out. Utapon was coming back in to try and catch out Reiner, but that was a clutch buffer on that Dredge line. Saved himself from the Tempered Fate. Teleport back from Utapon, but he was going to lane anyway. But the attempted catch, nice stuff from DFM, nicer stuff from Reiner.
I didn't know that interaction worked like that.
Suppose it's because it's a little bit like the, ooh man, that's a good Ash arrow, but Archer now in trouble, has to flash his way out. Very greedy going towards that bot lane tier 1 from V3's AD carry.
Yeah, especially with 0 support and knowledge that a lot of mid being missing, jungle being missing. The last time they were seen in action was actually in that spot. Lots of turret plate gold, however. Almost 1k. Almost, you could argue, 1k of their 3k advantage or 2.5k advantage is purely through turret plates.
Yeah, absolutely is. That's exactly where it is coming from. They've played that lane very well. And that Rift Herald in mid lane got them the 3 plates as well. So 1 apiece from laning and 1 from a good Rift Herald use has earned them a fairly good advantage early on. And it's being lovingly spent on Kha'Zix with Dirks and Caulfield's Warhammers in inventory. Rift Herald summoned straight over the wall, looking for first turret in this mid lane. I don't think Seros is going to have much to say about this one. Gangs around the back. They might try and Tempered Fate it. It's not quite off cooldown, though. And that means that the Rift Herald will secure first turret for V3, and it will leave the Ziggs in a bit of a tricky spot. Steel on vision, but now the Pillar's coming out, and that's a big Tempered Fate just before the Mega Inferno Bomb lands well to put out that damage. They're going to try and trade it around, but that was a decent tour to trade back out. Reiner trying to escape away, and DFM burn a couple ultimates and don't find as much as they would like to in that particular one. Ebby and Paz still trading in the top side. CS advantage to the Vladimir right now, which is always a scary sight to see, but hell, that's Ornn into Vladimir for you.
Yeah, and what is worth noting is I believe the timers for both Gang and Seros on their ultimates on this Ziggs and Bard will be up in time for the Dragon fight, which is partly why they were maybe willing to throw it out, because it is so much early, and well, it's too early for them to be fighting for that Mountain Drake. 40 seconds up. Teams are resetting. We're going to see a fight in about 35 seconds initialize. How's your vocal cords feeling? How's your vocal cords?
I'm warmed up and I'm ready to go. I've got my honey tea next to me, which I'll be taking a nice big gulp of before this fight, because If DFM secure this, they are at Mountain Soul Point, and the gold that V3 have indexed into early becomes significantly less worthwhile. If V3 secure it, they get to leverage that gold lead and prevent the stacking from DFM. That is huge news. Check on those items. Blade of the Ruin King in for Ash. That's big news. Dusk Blade complete for this Kha'Zix. It's a Sheen in inventory for Ezreal alongside the Manamune, which is great news. And Vladimir has got pretty much all the CDR at this point as well.
Worth noting.
So Vladimir is pretty well to fight.
Boogie,
Tell me more.
Boogie is also 2 levels above Steel. Keep going.
Good. Keep to know. That's very, very good news. There comes the Ash. It's on to Utapon, but it's buffered with the Arcane Shift. He's going to get knocked up and knocked down by Paz with the Call of the Forge God. Vladimir in the backline has been exhausted. That's going to prevent a lot of the damage, and Kha'Zix has already picked up 2. He's looking for a 3rd. Vavi's underneath it, and it will be Archer who picks that kill up. What a stellar engage from Paz and Ace in that one.
And look at the rest of the members of V3. They immediately leave the Dragon. They're not interested. Ace immediately rotated around, grab that mid turret, try to get the rest of them to fly away, and then are immediately rotating around to the top lane. Mid, the rest of the team all immediately rotate around to mid. They're like, let's get as many turrets, we can do this. Let's also have Boogie solo that dragon so we can have him secure it. He's got the smite. He's the only one we need to care about, as well as rotate around bot. As long as they don't die here and get caught out, which they might.
Utapon throwing that true shot barrage out. Paz in a lot of trouble. The mid lane tier 2 does fall, but the chase from DFM is in. Watch for the teleport. Ebby's in the back. That Mega Inferno Bomb does land on some people. It's doing as much damage as they can, but that's gone golden. It's everybody but Ebby, so very low, does get Archer. Reiner flashing over the wall. Paz in the backline. There's the hero's entrance. Steel kills the Galio before he gets out. Kha'Zix gets one back at least. It's a 2 for 2. And I am very, very laggy, so I have got bits and pieces of what's going on. Reiner trying to escape. Utapon trading. Bogey is coming in, but it might not be enough. He's trying to get very low HP bars. It is a 2 for 2, all things said and done. And DFM end that little passage of play. 3 kills to 11, down 6,000 gold, and they lost the Mountain Drake. Nice attempt at the turnaround, but got a little bit tricky there.
And what's worth knowing is that was a turnaround after they had already lost a fight. A brilliant Ashe ultimate. Utapon, uncharacteristically, really late on replying to that. Gang actually did a really good job in getting in the way of the dredge line there, but it doesn't matter. Wombo combo came up, 1 knock up into an Ornn knock up, and after that, that was all she wrote. At this point, it ends up being a 4 for 0. Remember now, 4 for 0, they get the mid, they get Drake, they get this mid turret, they get top turret at this point, or at least start trying to do it, as well as this bot turret. Problem is, the members of DFM recall quick enough, come back, and members like Steel and Gang don't fully run away. Ebby comes in really late here, but look at this, look at the map. TP already coming in from, God, there's so much to talk about here. TP already coming in from Ebby, as well as also coming in for Ace. But Boogie identified this and quickly ran up to join his team. He then is able to kill Ebby in this point. Paz somehow just obliterates Gang from like 200 damage. I thought Ornn wasn't meant to do damage. From this point, it looks like Reiner and
so close
could go solo. What ends up happening is Boogie is able to just output a bunch of damage onto Steel, basically put him into 50 health, and the rest of the members lick their wounds and run away. Huge advantage now for V3 Esports. And look at that, 6k gold lead versus DFM. This is a complete opposite game initialized from the first time round.
And that fight was so close to an ace for DFM at the end of that. Everybody was blinking health bars, but Utapon couldn't quite land the edge of the mystic shots at the end of that fight. Just out of range with Reiner and Paz, and it means that V3 come out with more of an advantage. Ebby having to back away, afraid of the dive under turret. We already saw how the last one went. Mountain Drake will be spawning again in 2 minutes, and to imagine people will be starting to fight for that one too. That's a twin fade onto Archer again. The arrow misses. Here comes the hero's entrance, but Archer's just gone. He's deleted Ceros, eviscerates him, explodes him with the Mega Inferno Bomb. Now Boogie's around, but it will be a 4 versus 5 for the foreseeable future, and with 20 minutes spawned, DFM can look to maybe go towards the Baron, though it would be a little early, and instead we'll try to shove in this mid lane tier 1. Boogie in the backline, throwing out that W to buy as much time, but here's the Call of the Forge God. The re-engage from V3 lands onto Utapon, but that's all they find. Mid lane tier 1 is safe, but that is a few key ultimates down. Archer dead again. DFM buy themselves some time, but not a lot else.
If I'm right in remembering, currently looking at everyone's timers, I think Call the Forge God will come up a few seconds after Mountain Drake happens to spawn. Meaning that V3, if the fight goes along how it basically went last time, it's already theirs. That was horrible, honestly, by Archer to get caught out there. Very uncharacteristic from both ADCs currently in this game. Both Yutapong and Archer have done uncharacteristic missing in action. They're just randomly in spots where you don't expect them to be. They get caught out and they get collapsed upon. Problem for DFM, though, is they're about 6k behind at this point in time, and they didn't kill the most important damage carry on V3's side, being Boogie. Boogie was able to roam into their jungle, steal Steel's blue buff, or maybe Siros's blue buff, depending on how they're seeing it at this point in the game. At the same time, they also knew Paz was shadowing Boogie that whole time, and the last thing you want to run into is a Paz plus Boogie combo.
It's definitely a bit risky. DFM trying to get priority in this mid lane. Death cap is in for this Ziggs right now as well, which is pretty big. Full CDR for Vladimir as well. He's ready to go. But so are V3. Look at the items they've got in. That's another Tempered Fate onto Archer. Gang hasn't missed one in ages, but they can't follow up this time around. That was decent defensive work there from Paz and Boogie to step forward and threaten too much more. Tempered Fate now burnt. Not a lot gained. Archer is starting off this Mana Drake, and DFM cannot come in to contest Ace. Buying a lot of time, Steel trying to get forwards. Half HP, Boogie on the side, trying to come in. He will find his way into the backline. That's a massive call of the Forge God, but the Hemo Plague's not bad in response as well. The Mega Inferno Bomb chunks Archer out to half HP, but Boogie round the back has got so many low health bars. It's 2 kills for Ace already, who's gone golden, and Boogie is now hunting for all the pickups. Seros can't make his way to the magical journey. Stunned in place is Paz, but it is 3 kills down for DFM, who tried to get in and contest, but the call of the Forge God was far too strong.
Look at this, and they're aggressively calling this. Paz is merely just making sure any members of DFM that happen to come anywhere near them decide that maybe that's a pretty bad idea. They're getting Ace to now TP in to secure this, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them immediately rotate around to try and get this dragon, because Steel is up now, and they are going to contest this. You don't really want to be giving too many dragons up, but it looks like they're actually conceding the fact, deciding Baron was the play, not actually ever getting this dragon, which I really hope isn't going to be our fault, because that does put DFM at Dragon Soul.
Well, it will do, but you can see V3 now rushing over to this.
DFM aren't even
on the way things are coming. Steel's not going to come over and contest it. They don't feel they can right now. Maybe thinking, we need to wait around for a couple more items. Trinity Force is in for this Ezreal, which is great news. Vladimir is always going to scale up, not far away from a Spellbinder. The later this game goes, the more raw damage DFM has. Yeah, Paz hitting 14 has upgraded the Zhonya's Paradox, interestingly, for Galio. Not the Might of the Ruin King.
You know all of these, honestly, mate. I'm impressed.
I've tried to remember as many of them as I can. I've seen enough of them at this point. Let's see this replay again, and you can sort of see DFM zoned off for ages, and the call
no vision on Boogie either. Just zero vision on Boogie. They have no idea. They just know he's around. Comes in, and look at that beautiful knock-up. Gang's basically just removed from this fight almost immediately and has to start running away. Huge damage does come out from DFM, but that kind of was the perfect amount of damage really going on. They have AoE splash damage. It's not this like one shot does loads outside of Yutapon, and that's partly what went wrong there. It was great from Ebby, it was great from Siros, but the problem is, even with a death cap, it just wasn't enough. And what did that mean for V3? It meant a Baron, it meant multiple kills, and it also meant a dragon. This game's going far further in V3's favor, and the AI bot is in that 90% territory now.
Yeah, they've got an 8,000 gold lead, they've got a Baron buff, and they have a very commanding lead in this game. Seros, Steel, Gang down by this bot lane tier 2. But Boogie's buying a lot of time. That's a decent pillar. Forces the leap out of Boogie, but not much more to be found. Yutapon wailing away on cannons in the mid lane. Ebby still shoving up as much as he can, desperately trying to scale up as hard as they can, because if DFM can find a way to get late, that's a good pull to buy time. Ebby's still very low. The transfusion buys time, but not enough. Paz now very low, has to flash out. Utapon does a very clutch arcane shift to miss the dredge line, but it is a dead Ebby again. That is the 6th death of the game for this Vladimir, who has just been having a rough time. Turbid Fate lands onto Archer, who spent most of his time golden. Does avoid the sweet spot on the Mega Inferno bomb at least. Yeah. But the shove will now continue. Ebby's still dead for 20 seconds.
Can we just really take into account that Paz solo killed Ebby under turret?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of help, but I completely agree. Seros just eviscerated by Boogie. Flash in to finally secure it, but now Boogie in the backline, very, very low. Still going to try and get onto him. Does get the 1,000 gold shutdown, but Utapon falls out, and Archer is now wheeling and dealing. The ice shutting down Trundle as well. And that will be everybody but Ebby, who's now respawned dead. They've got 30 seconds on all 3 members of DFM who are dead before they come up. That will at least be inhibitors. V3 have got low health bars, but can look to try and end. They're going to continue pressing. They have got minion waves.
They wanted everything, and they want it now. V3 came for DFM's crown, and this is the statement they gave them.
Oh, man alive. At least Ebby's got an exhaust down on him. He's buying as much time as he can. The Nexus turret still stand. Ebby healing up, but he's getting chased down, and he will die for the 7th time this game. Seros is alive. He's going to try and contest. That's a lot of damage, and now V3 have to run away. They can't quite end it yet, but they will leave with a Nexus turret. And another kill is 20 kills to 5. Paz trying to escape, and DFM hold on, but it is by their fingernails, and their base is in tatters. Their reputation is in tatters, and V3 smell blood in the water.
There's not blood in the water. There was a bug in the water. It got slapped down, but what did it cost you, DFM? What did it cost you to kill Boogie? It cost you your base. It cost you multiple members of your team eventually getting aced. That's how long it went on for. And Boogie's still sitting happy. His KDA is only going to stay above 20% in this. He's going to still stay the highest KDA jungler in the world after this game. It's nothing off of his back, mate. He can give that up because he's got 9 kills. He doesn't care. He wants more, though. And this game goes on longer. That means more kills for Boogie. Pad it out a bit more. Why not? Take a victory lap. V3 look dominant, Initialize. And this is a statement to the rest of the region.
It is. And I can't even say that some of DFM's ideas have been all that bad. It's just been out-executed in a lot of these team fights more than anything. And V3 pushing when DFM were kind of having to take a step back with item deficits, and that's just maybe a bit of a draft laning thing in terms of we just have a lot of losing lanes early on for DFM, and V3 just taking that ball and running with it to a, what are we at now? 11,000 gold lead. Yeah. Pretty massive, all things said and done.
I think the AI bot always likes putting that at the 100% mark almost. They're like, yeah, that's basically like 95%, like they shouldn't lose now. It's pretty hard to throw unless you're in solo queue. But then we've all done it in solo queue. The problem is, this isn't solo queue. This is also some of the best players in our region going up against each other. And, well, I can't say I'm too surprised at this current situation. I thought it would go one way or another, and this is how we got it.
I completely agree. That said, there is still a hope and a dream for DFM. They have got a lot of damage on their roster. They've got a Vladimir that, yeah, he's 1-7, but has got his way up to level 14. Not quite that coveted level 16 mark, but Spellbinder, Proto Bell, Phoenix Codex for all of that CDR means that maybe there's a wombo combo with the Ezreal, with the Ziggs at 2.5 items that does lead to something. But it's a hope and a dream, man, and it'll take a little bit more than just a Tempered Fate onto Archer to secure it.
Yeah, I mean, Tempered Fate, well, Archer has been in the Tempered Fate for a very, almost all the time. I think Gang only knows how to put it on Archer. It's 100% hit rate, but it's unsecure. The only way I can see DFM finding a way into this is stealing the Baron and somehow getting an ace onto V3. Then all bets are off. Totally. But till I see that, I'm hesitant for them. Look at just the level difference between Boogie and Steel.
4 levels. Yeah, and it's not quite a Flame Horizon in the jungle, but it's damn near close.
Oh god,
and
it almost
DFM
is,
just
isn't
have
it?
to back away and give up. The True Shot Barrage comes through. Nice
Tried.
attempt from Utapon, but just not enough, not in time, and not a lot of time left in this game, I surmise. Might of the Ruin King is in for this Ashe as well, looking pretty damn strong. Archer's had a bit of an odd game. Yeah, he's been the target. Yeah, he's been out of position once or twice, but mostly V3 have been pretty imperious. 4011 is the Ornn as well, who, despite a bit of a rough laning phase, came out with some kills, came up with some fantastic dives onto the Vladimir, who, bluntly, I think has been a lot of the issue here for DFM, who, 1-7 is not a scoreline I associate with Ebby.
No, I mean, I want to really emphasize this. I'm going to very quickly, because I'm not sure how much longer I have, just explain how much gold is in favor of V3 in their lane. Top, 1.5 to Faz. Jungle, 5.2k in favor for Boogie over Steel. 2.5k in favor of Ace. 1.5k for Archer, 1.7k for Reyna. I'm not sure how much longer we're getting as Baroned up minions are looking and banging on the door, and all of these inhibitors look very scary at the moment, and oh, there's one already gone.
Yeah, one is gone. Ace split pushing in the one side. Boogie now moving into the middle one to take that one out. DFM trying to threaten the bug away, but that's not so much a bug as a bloody Xenomorph. On Summoner's Rift, everyone can hear you scream, and I can tell you, I would know. I've been doing a lot of it this game. DFM is holding tight around this bot lane tier 3. When will they pull the trigger? They've got one last roll of the dice. Steel already taken so low. He flashes out. He cleanses. It's not bought him any time. And now Ebby over by the fountain, taken so low, but surviving for now. The Nexus exposed. The heroic entrance coming out. DFM biting, trying, but it's never gonna be enough, and V3 get the head-to-head. They match DFM's spring split record, and they will move to 9-0 in incredible fashion.
GG, well played, V3 Esports, well deserved. You started, and that was a statement from everybody. We remember all how it first happened versus V3 Esports and DFM. There was doubt, there was questions, we had them. V3 dismantled them, and no more questions about them. We're gonna have to have a very quick break to regain our thoughts upon everything we just witnessed about DFM V3, our game of the week, and maybe even of Super Week, but join us after this short break. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Official, Unofficial coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split. I'm still your host with the most, Alex, otherwise known as Lexi by Master on the internet. Of course, I am joined by the tantalizing man himself, Initialize, otherwise known as Sam Hapgood. Initialize, we didn't do so much like recapping as more of just gushing and just kind of...
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
I think what I've got underlined down here is Boogie is damn good.
My note says Boogie equals maybe not here after summer.
We are kind of seeing again why this guy is so damn good. The early counter gank to get first blood, the early pressure to teaming up with Paz in the top lane to get a lot of early kills. Was really good stuff from him, and I'm sure we'll index a little bit further into him, but I think before we go any further, just Boogie was a monster game.
Yeah, got first blood, turned around that first counter gank, and from there, the game was just in his control. Oh, we're not surprised, though. We called out the Kazakhs multiple times in the pick and ban phase. It wasn't something we talked about a lot between the three of us, but I think it was an unspoken thing that we were like, once Kazakhs is good again, oh, Kazakhs is good, Boogie good at do everything. He's played Trundle this season. He's played Nidalee. Kazakhs just falls in line, right?
Yeah, it was a question in spring, right? That basically if Boogie didn't get leads early or was on a champion that couldn't pressure early, then V3 fell apart. That is no longer the case. And the Kazakhs, even though he's not a fantastic ganker, is a pretty good counter ganker and showed up in this particular one. I kind of also want to take our eyes a little bit perhaps more to DFM here as well in terms of, yeah, that was a great counter gank that got the first blood over to Boogie, and V3 certainly came out to an early deficit, but it wasn't like DFM weren't finding some things of their own, namely the early dragons were great for DFM, and it was the trade then for the Herald, right, that you trade the early first two Drakes, first Herald, first two Heralds, that's kind of the standard trade. Problem was that you then hit this issue where you went to mid-game fight around that third Drake when you're looking for the Mountain Soul, and DFM lost the fight.
Well, they lost by first getting 4 and 0'd, and then the fight going for so long, they end up losing the mid turret. Yay, we get a kill for it. Oh wait, we actually end up going 2 for 2 through it, as well as while this had happened, Boogie had got some farm and a push in bot lane, and Ace had done the exact same, but in top lane. V3... I think it's really important to note, V3's call, immediately after getting those 4 kills, immediately everyone in the team was on the exact same page. Ace was like, I'm furthest up here, I know I'm the one that's meant to immediately go up to top lane. The other 3 were immediately there, and Boogie was the only one to immediately stay on the Drake. I know it's weird to highlight on this, but V3 are just on a page that no other team I'm seeing in the LJL are on.
Yeah, I kind of agree, and it's sort of like, what has 10-14 bought for V3? Well, what it's bought for them is Kazakhs, and everyone should be bloody afraid. And it's also just sort of things like, we kind of saw that Kazakhs all combo on the top side. Like, Ebby was versus Ebby, where Ebby had a really atrocious.
Yeah.
He was 1-7 at one point. I believe he ended up worse than that. I didn't catch his scoreline at the end of the game, but he had an exceptionally poor game. He was winning in laning stats early, good CS lead, but then Boogie finds a way behind the vision in River, hopping over the back of the Baron Pit wall, and then going to dive under tower. But Ebby was just disrespectful of the dive time and time and time again. He just died so many times and could never find the good hemo play because he was permanently exhausted in team fights. This is kind of a few champions now and a few points where I've gone, Ebby, what are you doing? And I've never really had to say that before about this top lane.
I mean, everyone at some point isn't going to be the best at their role. And I wonder if it's gone from that highest of highs in spring to the middle of middles of summer. I'm not saying it's lows. He's not terrible. He's still better than a majority of top laners. The problem is, we've seen twice now from 2 different top laners that they're pretty comfortable against him now. This reign of superiority that Ebby once had might be coming to a close, but in all fairness to him, it's not normally gone this badly.
Yes, and I think that was partly it, is that effectively DFM normally like to handshake trades if they're doing something like
Sure.
or even a Vladimir where like, okay, you're going to go for Herald, we'll take Dragon. And you saw they try and do that, but then, like, say, particularly for that second Dragon, they get a pick, do DFM, and then Ace says, respawns, teleports straight back in and gets a kill right back. Like, it's that kind of aggressive mindset to punch straight back and not allow things to go over free. And sort of like this Vladimir saying, yeah, we're on weak side, no one's coming over here to challenge me, it'll be fine. No, it's not.
Boogie's there, Ace is there, someone will be there with Paz.
Yeah, and like, and that meant that DFM, when they did come to try and contest, once they did get to their item breakpoints, you know, the cooldown reduction was in for the Vlad. The 2 items were in for the Ezreal, where they started to fight for that third Drake and thinking, this is great. They were already in more of a deficit than they would have liked because they'd lost a bit more than they should have done.
Yeah. And it just went from there throughout the rest of the game. Once V3 had got that 4 kills around that Dragon, eventually ended up getting a 2 for 2, but they did also get that Drake. It was just a slow snowball from there, really, in V3's favor. It went from a few K gold lead that they had just done through turret plates that we had hit on earlier, to this about 5K, 6K gold lead, to then eventually it being 11 towards the end of it, and we were just more watching the end of the game just kind of go through, and that was sort of what she wrote.
Right, and there was a point where, like, DFM, if they'd managed to stall out, maybe they could have reached some items, you know, like Vladimir, Ezreal, Ziggs, you know, that's massive late game damage, but the snowball was so damn hard, and bluntly, because there wasn't really a front line from DFM, I know we'd called out that, yeah, V3 don't really have a second carry outside of the Ashe. Turns out your kind of the base burst of a Galio and an Ornn versus squishy people is more than enough when they get that far ahead. And Boogie was running rampant as well, so they had more than enough damage, even if we had been a little nervous about it.
True.
And credit to V3 for playing the early lane and early pressure well. Credit to them for playing the team fights in particular so damn well. Well played, V3.
Yeah, well played, V3 Esports. I couldn't have said it all better myself. And commonly I would try and repeat everything you've just said and just kind of make it my own, but I'm not going to do it this time because I can't do it justice. But our 6th game of the day, following after this break we're going to be having, will be V3 Esports returning to the stage. This time, though, looking to break DFM's record now that they've tied it. However, they're going to be against interesting competition. The team with the all-star mid laner of Aria. Well, that's Crest Gaming Act. Initialize, you're going to be there after this break, aren't you?
I am going to be there, and I'm not sure my voice is ready. We'll find out.
We'll find out indeed right after this break.